104.5 The Team, your home for Jets football. Now we go down to Charlotte. He is sports reporter for Fox 46. Josh Sims joins us right now. Josh, as we look at this, man, it's the return of Sean McDermott against Carolina. What type of impact is he going to have?
Well, it's an interesting dynamic, and the guys have been answering questions in that Panthers locker room about it all week, and they're probably thinking about it. But a lot of those guys, were brought in under Sean McDermott. He was the D coordinator here for a number of years. A number of his tenure, this defense was in the top 10. So it's no secret what he did for the defense here in Carolina. But at the same time, these guys have been quick to say, they love Sean. They love what he did for this organization. They're happy that he got the opportunity in Buffalo. But when they hit the field, it's not them versus Sean. It's not, all the ties that the Panthers have with those guys now in Buffalo. It's about the game. So as much as, and they talked about it yesterday, Greg Olson was saying, as much as they're familiar with the schemes McDermott runs and they're familiar with maybe some of the ideas they want to do on defense, a lot of teams are familiar with what other teams are doing. It's just the nature of the NFL. So there's no secrets that he has about the Panthers that, there's no secrets in this. It's just about who executes and who plays the best. So they're doing their best to play down the whole Sean McDermott return to town, Brandon Beam return to town, Mike Tolbert, name any of the other guys that are up there, Joe Webb, whoever it is, they're playing it down a lot.
Should they be playing it down? Because a guy like Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott know these guys. I compared it to earlier in the week, like a college football coach recruiting the players and knowing their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of it is they're saying those things to us, and on the inside they're like, oh, this guy knows some of our calls and some of this and that. The other day we asked Luke Kuechly, star linebacker, about that. Is he going to have to change some of their signals that they do on defense? Will Bean know some of the stuff will McDermott know some of the stuff? And he says, no, they're not doing any of that. Now, whether or not he's being truthful, who knows? They're not going to give us their game plan. But I get the sense they're going to have to change some things. They're going to have to disguise some things. They're going to have to, they didn't show their whole, whether it was offense or what they do on defense. Rivera did say they didn't show everything last week. Whether or not it was because they knew they were playing the Bills this week and they didn't want that on tape, I don't know, because he also said, I'm sure we're going to be running stuff this week and we're not going to show everything this week. So, whether that's part of the game plan as far as installing stuff into their offense going forward or whether they just wanted to keep some stuff hush-hush from them, who knows? We'll find out.
Josh Sims with us right now from Fox 46 in Charlotte. Josh, what was the biggest issue with week one for the Panthers? What have they been working on the most right now?
Yeah, the biggest thing with that, the defense looked great in week one. It is the 49ers, but anytime you can hold an NFL team to just a field goal in the game and you stop them on the goal line on 4th and goal, that's really what has made this Panthers team so successful in the past, several years, past decade, or whatever you want to say. It's the offense that really seems a little bit rusty, and you look no further than Cam. He did have off-season shoulder surgery. He's still obviously recovering from that, and they say he's 100%. He's turned loose. He's ready to go. But you saw last week on offense, he had a wide-open Ed Dixon, the tight end, on a gimme touchdown, and he overthrew him. He had some other plays where he just seemed off, and whether it's chemistry with the receivers, he didn't get to work with them a lot during training camp because he was on a pitch count with his shoulder. So the offense has some work to do. As much as they force-fed the ball to their running backs, and this team does want to get back to the ground and pound, so it's no wonder both McCaffrey and Stewart touched the ball a majority of the game last week. It really didn't divvy the ball out too much to the receivers. I think Olsen had one catch. Kelvin had a catch. Funchess had maybe two. Their new guy, Russell Shepard, had two. But it just seemed like he was off with the receivers, and he didn't use them as much as he'd like. And at the same time, he was off on a lot of his throws. And even head coach Ron Rivera admitted Cam is rusty, and he's working his way back in. And that's where, they put the most focus on this week and the last couple of weeks is getting the offense back in tune.
Josh, does Cam still have that swagger? It's almost like he hasn't been the same guy since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it's interesting because someone else brought this up to me the other day in the newsroom. We were talking. They're just like, yeah, Cam hasn't looked the same since the Super Bowl. What happened? And it's really hard to pinpoint what exactly changed for Cam. His superstardom blew up the Super Bowl year. He was on another level. And then we saw the summer after the Super Bowl, he was doing a little bit of everything. He had a TV show with Nickelodeon. He was showing up at award shows. He was doing this and doing that. And maybe that took away from some of his prep on the field because he didn't look himself. He didn't look sharp the next season. But also you look at that Denver game and the beating he took in the opener. I mean, I don't know if something happened to him that game where he just kept getting shots to the head, and he hasn't looked as fast anymore. He hasn't looked as sharp, and he was playing with an injured shoulder for the better part of last year. But there's still something. I mean, you wouldn't notice it with him. He's still as joyful as ever. He's still, the same old Cam Newton in practice, yelling, joking, having fun. I mean, during warm-ups every day, I don't even think we see him actually stretch. He's just running around dancing to the music, which is pretty funny, but that's Cam. So it's hard from an appearance standpoint, leading up to the games, you wouldn't think he's lost anything. But then when you watch him on the field at times, he's not outrunning the guys he used to. He's off on some throws, and maybe that's just who he is at this point in his career.
How should the Buffalo Bills defense try to line up, trying to figure out the running back Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah, it's interesting with what they want to do with Christian because so much of what they did last week, it almost felt like they were force-feeding him the ball in a number of different situations. And then Ron Rivera came out and said they haven't even begun to scratch the surface on how they're going to use him. It just seems like they want to give him touches. And because we've seen what he can do. I mean, he's had practice video go viral of him just making linebackers look silly with, the cuts he's able to use. It's honestly hard to tell you how to game plan for him because they're using him in so many different ways. They hand the ball off to him. They use him in the screen game. He's lined up in the slot. He's doing a lot of different things. The one thing I will say last week, he always seems like he's about to break a big play and gets caught up. And then he had that, he had a good game, and he had about 85 yards total last week between rushes and receptions. But then late in the ball game, he fumbled the ball, and this is a guy who never fumbles the ball, going back to his days at Stanford. So it's an issue where he's maybe trying to do too much. But it's just hard to tell how they're going to use him other than the fact that they are going to use him a lot. That's the best I can say. They're going to line him up in a number of different ways all over the field, whether he's getting the ball or he's a decoy, which they also like to do on that play. Cam missed Dixon for the wide-open touchdown because everyone flooded to McCaffrey. The safety cheated over to him. The guy in the slot who was guarding in the slot, the nickel corner, 3 different guys came to him, leaving a wide open, and that's what makes him so dangerous is because he draws so much attention, and that's what the Panthers were hoping when they got him. He opens things up for everybody else. Cam just has to hit the guys when he does.
Josh Sims from Fox 46 in Charlotte joining us right now, making sense of preparing us for the Bills-Panthers game. When you hear the rumblings around the Panthers, is there an offensive weapon for the Bills that scares them the most? Is it Tyrod? Is it Shady? Who is it?
Yeah, and one of the things they are looking at, those two you named right there, Tyrod and Shady. Luke Kuechly was quick to say Tyrod can pose some danger to them, the way he's so elusive in the pocket, the way a play is never done with him because he could get out, he could scramble, use his legs, and he's got an arm. He can find his guys. So they know they have to know where he is and bring him down to the ground. They can't assume, if someone gets to him initially, we've seen him get out of trouble numerous times. So they know that, and they know Shady is shifty, and they know, one thing they always talk about is they got to stop the run game because that opens up everything else for them and causes them to, force bad throws and get turnovers. So they know the danger in those two guys, and they talked about how they need to try and stop them. And the funny thing is they were talking the other day about, Mike Tolbert. They called him the dancing bear when he was here because every time you guys saw it last week, he gets in the end zone, little touchdown dance, and he was a fan favorite here. And asked Luke about stopping the fullback, and he brought up the fullback that came from Atlanta up there. And he started going into, this guy's big. We thought we avoided him. They're like, no, we're talking about Mike Tolbert. And Luke's like, no, man, you didn't see. He's a running back now. He's a running back. He's quick, man. We got to be able to. So it's just funny, what they're preparing for. But like I touched on in the beginning, they're excited to go against this team because they're going to see a lot of the guys that they used to play with. And it's just funny, the whole this offseason they called them Panthers North because of all the guys that went up there. So it makes for a very, very interesting dynamic for the home opener for the Panthers this weekend.
We'll let you go on this. It's a Friday. That means we need a prediction from one of our insiders. Panthers, Bills, give us a final score and what happens.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game just because I don't trust the Panthers to put up that many numbers, and I don't know what the Bills are going to do on offense, so I'm going to go with 20-14 Panthers.
Very good, Josh Sims. He used to be ours, and then Charlotte stole them away for Fox 46. It's good to hear from you, brother.
Yeah, good to catch up with you guys.